Welcome back, everyone. My name is Patrick. You're watching the Oilers Rundown. Well, as I've mentioned the last few days, trades seem to be picking up, but we still have radio silence from the Edmonton Oilers so far. As we all know, Ken Holland is the patient GM, so it's probably going to be closer to the trade deadline before we see the Oilers finally pull the trigger on something. All the big names are pretty much gone now. It looks like Timo Meier is headed to the New Jersey Devils. Patrick Kane appears headed to the New York Rangers. So there really doesn't seem to be a big name the Edmonton Oilers could be in on, except for what Elliot Friedman called a 1 in a million chance, San Jose Sharks defenseman Erik Karlsson. I've said this a few times. I'm going to hold on to a small fringe sense of hope on this one that the Oilers do somehow find a way to make it happen before the trade deadline. Maybe the San Jose Sharks get a little desperate. Maybe the Edmonton Oilers step up. Don't know how it eventually happens. They just find a way. Because I think ultimately, Ken Holland knows he has to do something. And I'm not one of those people that's worried that Ken Holland isn't going to do anything at the trade deadline. We all know he will do something. He's done something at every trade deadline, whether it's big or small. Ken Holland's biggest swings as general manager came at his first NHL trade deadline with the Edmonton Oilers, picking up Andreas Athanasiou, Mike Green, Tyler Ennis, and pretty much all of those deals, aside from maybe Tyler Ennis, you could call a bit of a success, but obviously Andreas Athanasiou spending 2 second-round picks on him and ultimately having to let him walk as a free agent. Mike Green played, 3, 4, it was under 10 games anyway as an Edmonton Oiler, so that one was a complete train wreck. We also lost Sam Gagner at that trade deadline. I know a lot of people value him differently, but I really wish we hadn't lost Sam Gagner then, and I don't know. Not going to go too much into that, but it was just a bad trade deadline all around for the Oilers, and you can see why Ken Holland is being a little tepid in his approach here. Alan Mitchell, a.k.a. Low Tide on Twitter and on TSN 1260, brought up a good point that perhaps there is some kind of a power struggle within the Oilers management and ownership. I'm guessing Daryl Cates wants Ken Holland to obviously be active. He wants to keep Connor McDavid happy. He wants to keep Leon Draisaitl happy. He wants to keep the fan base happy in general. Ken Holland is, of course, the patient one. As we found out from Daniel Nugent-Bowman in an article at The Athletic, Oilers assistant GM Brad Holland wants to go for the bigger fish. He wants to be active. Ken Holland basically saying, well, you can do that when you have the big chair, but right now I'm making the decisions. And that article didn't really do much to help Ken Holland's popularity in oil country right now. Everyone's on him just to do something, and to hear that he's being even more tepid or more cautious, and his own son wants to get out there and do something. He's the assistant GM. A lot of people calling already, like, replace Ken Holland with Brad Holland. We want to have someone here that's actually going to do something for this team. Connor McDavid, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Zach Hyman, Leon Draisaitl, everyone's having career years. The Oilers are in a great position here. The West is wide open. The Oilers can really do something this year and have a chance to go far. Most of the big moves have happened in the East. Obviously, the Oilers are going to have to play one of those East teams eventually, but not till the Stanley Cup Finals. And by that point, the Oilers can be more playoff ready. They'll have won 3 rounds. They'll be battle tested by that point, assuming, of course, the Oilers make it that far. But just saying, the East has made the big moves so far. The Oilers don't have to play anybody in the East until the Stanley Cup Finals, so let's step up here. A lot of people are saying wait till next year, get some of that LTIR off the books. I know Sekera is coming off the books, Lucic is coming off the books. The Oilers will have some more wiggle room. They won't be dealing with the limitations of long-term injured reserve and not gaining cap space during the regular season, so they can do a few more things. But do you really want to tell Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl the year that they're having, you know what, we're just going to sit back a bit this year and hopefully next year we'll try again? But why limit yourself? Go for it this year. Go for it next year. You got these guys signed to 2, 3, in some cases, multiple years ahead here. Like, there's no reason to not go for it this year for the Edmonton Oilers. I'm not saying it's easy. We all know the complications that Ken Holland and his management staff are facing with the cap this year, but find a way. Get something done here. Like I said, I believe Ken Holland will do something. I'm not one of those people saying that Ken Holland's going to stand pat and do absolutely nothing, but I think this is a year we need something a bit more than a Brett Kulak and a Derek Brassard. I'm hoping he can find some way to be creative. I don't think Ken Holland himself is overly creative, so I'm hoping his management staff around him, Steve Staios, Keith Gretzky, Brad Holland, can help him out in that regard. Find something imaginative here. Get some way to create some more cap space. Do something here for the Edmonton Oilers. Because Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, this whole fan base deserves something more from Ken Holland at this trade deadline. So he's still got some time. I'm not going to say it has to happen today or it has to happen tomorrow, but make sure something happens before the deadline on Friday that impresses the fans. It doesn't have to be something absolutely massive, but some key pieces that will help this team, probably most importantly defensively. As we've seen, this team has no problem scoring, but help this team out some way to get that ultimate prize, because they have a prime opportunity to do it this year. And Ken Holland, you're paid $5 million a year. You're the highest paid GM in the league. You have no excuse whatsoever to stand pat. Get out there and get something done. I'm sure he is trying. I'm not saying he's not doing anything, but there has to be some results here come Friday for the Oilers and this fan base. A name we are hearing more over the last few days, Washington Capitals right shot defenseman Nick Jensen. He could slot into the Oilers' top four, push Tyson Barrie, Cody Ceci, somebody down. My hope would be that one of those guys actually moves to the Washington Capitals in the trade. The Capitals obviously aren't going into a rebuild here or anything like that, so maybe they would have some interest in a Cody Ceci, and the Oilers bring Nick Jensen back and replace Ceci. Basically, my concern is I don't want to take Vincent Desharnais out of the lineup. I want to keep him in there as the Oilers' seventh defenseman, so whatever addition the Oilers make, I hope somebody else is going out the other way so we don't have to remove Desharnais, because basically he's the go-to takeaway, right? I mean, you could also take out Philip Broberg, but they're not going to take out Philip Broberg. If it's someone like Erik Karlsson coming in, then Tyson Barrie most likely is going in that deal, so that kind of solves the problem there. But ultimately, at the end of the day, my biggest concern is that we don't lose Vincent Desharnais out of this lineup. And lastly for today, just a couple team updates. We had this update from Tom Gazzola from practice, update from Jay Woodcroft on Evander Kane, saying he is day-to-day as his ribs heal. Also noted that the illness that Klim Kostin had took a lot out of him, and they're just waiting for Kostin to get fully healthy. So it doesn't sound like we'll see Kostin tomorrow against the Boston Bruins. Bob Stauffer posted this lineup from practice. A top line of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Connor McDavid, and Kyler Yamamoto. Second line of Kostin, Draisaitl, and Hyman. Third line of Fogle, McLeod, and Janmark. And a fourth line of Shore, Ryan, and Puljujärvi. On defense, Nurse and Ceci, Kulak and Barrie, Broberg and Bouchard. And it looks like Skinner may be getting the start tomorrow against the Boston Bruins. And not on the ice today were Vincent Desharnais and Evander Kane. So not sure what the issue is with Vincent Desharnais, but hopefully he's good to go for tomorrow. Well, I think that's all for now, guys. Let me know your thoughts on everything in the comment section below. If this is your first visit to the channel and you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing for all the latest Oilers content. You've been watching the Oilers Fanatic. Thanks for being a fan. Take care, guys. I'll see you soon.